It's time to take a break from your sports, have a seat, and we'll read together the Walla Walla Garden City Gazette. This issue is September 15th, 1894. A 3-round boxing contest occurred in the basement of the Schwartz Saloon Saturday night between Joe Crane and C. Bain, local middleweights. A large crowd of the sporting fraternity of Walla Walla was present to witness the proceedings and cheer for their favorites. In the first round, both went at each other in a lively manner, and it ended in favor of Crane, with both somewhat winded. In the second round, Crane first found the nose of his opponent. Bain retaliated with a swinging blow, which resulted in a knockdown round in Bain's favor. During the third round, both men appeared determined to get in and win. Bain forced the fighting from the first and fought his opponent to the rope, scoring a knockdown. Crane was counted out before he could arise. The fight was awarded to Bain. Old glory is again floating from our temples of learning. Born in this city Friday, September 14th, to the wife of Ernest Kirkman, a 12-pound girl. John W. McKee, Jr., Deputy County Treasurer, returned last Saturday from an outing in Montana. 2 families in covered wagons passed through town Tuesday, bound for southwestern Oregon. After spending a few years in the Colville country, they had decided to seek a milder climate. Desert the Army. 2 soldiers sever relations with Uncle Sam. 2 desertions have occurred from Fort Walla Walla within the last 10 days. Frank Leon, sergeant and bass player in the band, concluded to sever his connection with the army of Uncle Sam and seek pastures anew. Walter Seeley, a cook at the garrison, next got the same ideas into his cranium and followed suit. The government is after the deserters, and a term of imprisonment in a military prison awaits them when caught. An unknown man was run over and terribly mangled by the cars on the OR&N track last Saturday or Sunday, over 2 miles west of Prescott. His head was cut off and the legs and body scattered along the track for over 50 yards. It is presumed that the unfortunate man had attempted to board a moving train and failed. A coroner's inquest was held and the remains were buried at Prescott. Dayton notes, the many friends of Miss Fanny Day were sorry to hear of her departure to Drain, Oregon, where she will attend the state normal school. Mrs. Stella, Fanny, and Ada Dorr have returned from Tacoma. Miss Mary Brown has returned from Tacoma, where she's been visiting for 3 months. The Wife's Season. The story is told of a young Boston woman, hardly more than a bride, whose husband did not come home one night, but he did the next morning, and stammering apologies about businessman from the West and other such matters that had nothing to do with it. To his great surprise and intense relief, she accepted his explanations sweetly, unquestioningly. Another night fell. Anxious to make further amends for his tardiness, he came home fairly early that day, expecting to be met with the usual sweet smile of his wife. But the sweet smile was not there. Neither was the wife, or any word of explanation, nor did she return. An awful night of it that man spent, and when the little lady returned the next morning, he was ready to heap scorn and anything else handy upon her apologetic head. But she didn't apologize, not she. Sweetly she bade him good morning, went about her usual duties amiably, but vouchsafed not the slightest explanation. The man went off by himself and thought for a while. When he came back in an hour, he was a changed man. He told her so, said she did perfectly right and he was a brute. Then they made up in the good old-fashioned way. He said it should never happen again, and it hasn't. That man is just as proud as he can of his bright wife. Tuesday and Wednesday, September 18th and 19th, opening of Fall and Winter Millinery. New styles, unrivaled assortment, low prices. Miss Kaufman, number 20, East Main. Did you ever play the game of consequences? If not, I will tell you how, and you shall determine for yourself if it is not very like the game of life which we are all playing every day, whether we will or not. Take 2 slips of paper, perhaps 2 inches wide and as long as ordinary notepaper. 2 persons and 2 pencils are the rest of the simple apparatus, and sitting so that they do not overlook each other, each writes at the head of his or her slip of paper a name of a man known to both either by personal acquaintance or historical renown. This done, the name is folded out of sight and the slips are exchanged, when each writes next a woman's name and again folds it out of sight. And next is where they met, what he said, what she said, then what the world said, and finally the word, the consequences. The fun comes in when the 2 slips are unfolded and the queer conjunction of persons, places, speeches, and consequences are read out, as for instance, Henry Ward Beecher and the Infanta Eulalie met at Barnum Show. He said, "Rock me to sleep, mother." She said, "Ratapallon, ratapallon." The world said, "What's bred in the bone will come out in the flesh." Snake River Gold. Almost everyone is impressed with the idea that Snake River gold is hard to save. This is a wrong impression. The gold is easily saved, but the trouble is water to sluice the gravel into the sluice boxes. Snake River has plenty of water, but the raising of it to a height necessary for sluicing creates an expense that would leave no profit when worked on such a small scale. There are a few fortunate persons who own good Snake River bars that are supplied with water from a tributary stream from 2 to 4 months in the year, and their profit will amount to several $1,000s per season. Thus, it can readily be seen that the good Snake River bars, where water is available, is held at a high, yet not extravagant value, many owners asking from $50 to $200 per acre for their prolific and lucrative property. Investments are made on these bars with the fact that in view that should these gold-bearing lands prove unprofitable, they are cultivated and make the very best fruit and grain lands. Snake River gold is the purest of all placer diggings, the retort bringing about $20 per ounce at the government assay offices.